For the final lesson, we're going to be working on square roots and cube roots. So we're combining this instead of doing cubes and cube roots together. We already did the squares and the cubes. So we're going to be doing square roots and cube roots. You're going to need to remember the prime factorization chart again. And then we're going to be talking about sets of 2 and sets of 3. Okay, so first, you have the vocabulary we talked about a little bit already. This is not a division symbol. When you put a little extra tail on it like that, it is called a radical. Okay, you should have that in your vocabulary list. This is a radical symbol, and you'll use that when you're talking about any sort of square root or cube root. Okay, so we know that a square of a number will increase. So if I'm finding the square of 3, that would look like this, and I would say that would be 3 times 3, because I'm taking the base times the number of exponents. So I have squared for my exponent, so there's 2 3's I'm multiplying by, so 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So the square of 3 is 9. Okay? So when I think of square roots, all I'm doing is I'm taking that 9 that I just found as the square of 3, and I'm finding the square root of 9. So I'm going back to the 3. And the way that you do that is using your prime factorization chart. So I put my 9 into my prime factorization chart. So a lot of you would know this math fact. So doubles facts will help you greatly in these. So the ones that you know as math facts, you can just go, oh yeah, I know that 9, I know that 3 times 3 is equal to 9, and you would know the square root of 9 already as 3. However, if you don't, then prime factorization charts are going to be your friend. So you're going to take 3, because I can't divide it by 2, it's not even. So I take 3 as the prime number out of that. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. And then I'm going to look, because I'm looking for the square root, because that's just a plain radical symbol, I'm looking for sets of 2. And I can remember that because the symbol for a square is 2. So for the radical of a square root, they don't ever put the 2 on there, but you can if you want to. They won't. When you do cube root, you'll see that we put a 3 right there instead of a 2. But that kind of helps you remember that when you're doing squares, it has the exponent of a 2. It helps you remember to look for sets of 2. So I usually do 2 different colors. And this one seems a little bit easier because there's just 2 prime numbers I factored out. But here I have 1 number in a set, and here I have another number. So I'm just sorting the same number into 2 different sets. So here I have my pink group, here I have my yellow group. They both have a 3 in it. So it's like having 2 different baskets. I put a 3 in this person's basket, I put a 3 in this person's basket. And then I check it. Does 3 times 3 equal 9? The answer is yes. So the square root of 9, the way I would write this to make sure this statement's equal, the square root of 9 is equal to 3. I don't put the square over here, because if I put 3 squared, that's equal to 9. And this is the square root of 9, not 9 by itself. So the square root of 9 is equal to 3. Okay. Let's do a little bit higher numbered one. Let's look at the square root of let's do 196. So the square root of 196. So again, you just put that in a prime factorization chart. So I factor out 2 because it's even. I get 98. That's still even, so I can still divide by 2 or factor out 2. 98 divided by 2 is 49. I can't divide that one by 2. So if I list my prime numbers up here, it can't be divided by 3 because if I add the digits, 9 plus 4 is 13. And then if I have to divide by 3, the sum of the digits has to be divisible by 3. So 13 can't divide by 3. Next prime number is 5. It doesn't end in 5 or 0. 7. Ooh. So I know 7 times 7 is 49. Now when you're looking for square roots and cube roots, I'll tell you a little hint. If you can divide by 2 once, you should be able to divide by 2 twice if you're looking for a square root. If you're looking for a cubed root, you should be able to divide by 2 3 times if you can once. Just like here, if I can divide by 7 once, I should end up with a second 7 because I'm looking for a square root. That way when I sort into my sets of 2, I have 2 of them. Okay, so here I am with my sets because I ended up with a prime number. And I have the pink set that gets a 2 and my yellow group that gets a 2. My pink group gets a 7 and my yellow group gets a 7. So if I wanted to make like a little grouping over here, I could say here's my pink group, here's my yellow group. Okay, my pink group has 2 times 7 in it. My yellow group has 2 times 7 in it. These two groups should be equal. Okay, so these two groups are equal. So they both have 2 times 7 in them. Okay, so 2 times 7 is equal to 14. This one's equal to 14. If I multiply 14 by 14 together, I get 196, which is what I was finding the square root of. So then I know my answer is the square root of 196 is equal to 14. Again, I don't put the squared symbol on there because I'm finding the square root of it. And if I know the square root of 196 is 14, I should know that 14 squared is equal to 196. Because I just took 14 times 14 and got 196. Okay, I'm going to have you practice one more. We're going to find the square root of 144. So you're going to put 144 in your prime factorization chart. Make sure you keep them in line. If you need to draw lines in here so you keep them in line, you can. So that divides by 2. Remember, if you can divide by 2 once, you should have a second 2 if you're finding the square root. Keep going. And I can sort into my groups. You can see, you can highlight over top of them. You can do all the pink at once. You just have to skip every other. So pink, not pink, pink, not pink, pink, not pink. Or whatever color you have. You don't even have to highlight the other color. You can just know that they're not highlighted. So then one group would have 2 times 2 times 3. And then I check the other group. It has 2 times 2 times 3 as well. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 3 is 12. So the square root of 144 is equal to 12. And if I know my math facts, I can check it by saying 12 squared is equal to 144. So I know that I got my square root correct. So those are square